Redditors who have a job where they go into other people's homes, plumbers, electricians, etc. What's the weirdest, most disturbing thing you've seen while working in a customer's house? Used to deliver oxygen to people's homes. Saw plenty of weird things. Lots of hoarders, but this one took the cake. He didn't want to let us into his house, but I had to do a home safety assessment before I could set up the equipment. He was anxious about letting me in because his house was mess. He kept telling me about his messy house. Come to find out, it wasn't just messy. It was filled with 200 chickens. He was proud of his show chickens and wouldn't let them live in a barn or coop. The smell was unbearable. Other than that, he was a super nice guy. I've posted this before a while back, but used to work pest control. Went into student accommodation to deal with insects. Can't remember what type. Carpet moths or bed bugs, maybe? Anyway, that's not the point of the story. This one room is fairly clean, but we have to spray all fabrics with the chemical in question to prevent any eggs from having a safe space to gestate. So open up suitcases, wardrobes, that sort of thing. One suitcase is full of used tampons that she was saving for freak knows what reason, actually, and I don't want to know. Nasty crap that didn't mention it, just did the job and tried to avoid eye contact at the end. I'm an electrician, and I was troubleshooting a bad outlet in the bathroom of a former NFL player. I was taking all the outlets apart, following them to see if I could trace out the home runs when he comes in and starts talking football. We are in the middle of talking when he just walks over to the toilet and starts taking a shit. I couldn't see him, but there was just a little pony wall between us. He didn't even stop telling his story. It was crazy. I walked out because of the smell. He came out a little later, and it was like nothing ever happened. Long ago I did estimates for fire and water damage repairs for a restoration company. This couple had a smallish fire in their bedroom. When I enter the home it's seemingly normal. Smells like smoke. There was a fire. Makes sense. They take me to the bedroom, and it was the mattress that had endured the majority of the fire, along with some of the wall above the head of the bed and smoke damage to the ceiling. Next to each side of the bed are 10-gallon buckets filled to the brim with cigarette butts, and hundreds of spilled over buds all over the floor. I was just in awe how they could live like this in their bedroom, especially since the rest of their home seemed tidy and normal. Also completely beyond me why they wouldn't clean that shit up after the fire, if for no other reason than insurance adjusters being able to blame them, rightly, and possibly not pay out. How did the fire start, I asked. Required to ask. No idea, the husband replied. My uncle is a handyman and he went in to do some work for a family and the toilet was just fesses. Not like someone didn't flush, rather nobody did, and the bowl was just crammed full of hardened stool, which had clearly been an accumulating scenario. I did a carpet cleaning job with my uncle. He couldn't lug around the carpet cleaning equipment cause he'd gotten hurt the night before, but had already promised this job would get done. No biggie, so I went along to help. He asked the owners to move heavy stuff around so he could clean. Dining room table covered with packaging labels. I looked behind the table, porn movie boxes stacked on the floor. Tons. Go into master bedroom, find a bottle of lube, dildos and more movie boxes. My uncle shakes his head. I told them we were going to be everywhere. You think they're coming on to us? Biggest kicker comes when we go into the adult son's bedroom. Bang. More movie boxes and a rack of clothes by the bed. My uncle just shakes his head, goes to grab the rack, and like a mummy from its coffin rises a girl from underneath the blankets on the bed, half naked, and casually walks away into the hallway. Inspecting an oven a tenant had complained was smoking. Yup, it definitely was. Tenant thought an oven could be used like an outdoor grill. Had been cooking meat directly on the oven racks and all that glorious fat and grease just accumulated in the bottom of the oven and the little drawer underneath for months. How he didn't burn down the whole damn building is beyond me. I also patched a bullet hole in a shared wall/ceiling between apartments. One tenant let his girlfriend play with his loaded gun. She stupidly and accidentally fires it into next door neighbor's apartment. Neighbor was playing video games and didn't notice the bullet come through his wall into the ceiling. Had no clue until the gun-owning boyfriend knocked at his door in a panic and was relieved to see him alive. Oopsie. My boyfriend is a locksmith. During the 2008 recession, Las Vegas had hundreds/thousands of homes that were getting repaired or abandoned. The company he worked for would have him go and change the locks to keep people out, and usually this happened in the middle of the night to limit the possibilities of running into ex-owners of the properties. I sometimes tagged along, mostly to explore some of the ridiculously big houses that people had just left, but helped some of the time. This one house looked totally normal from the outside. You couldn't tell any difference from any of the other cookie cutter, planned development homes. But inside, in every room, there were those timeout dolls. If you have never seen them, they are a doll that stands against the wall with its hands up to its face. And even more creepy, usually they have no face, but they look like a kid hiding their face or pouting after being put in a timeout. When I say they were in every room, I mean every single room. And not just one, but dozens, lining the walls. Not laying down, but standing up against every wall of the house. The house's electricity had been shut off, so all we had was flashlights. Walking into each room, it did not get less creepy seeing doll after doll. He is already afraid of dolls and this made it so much worse. Altogether we counted 63, but there might have been more. I used to do flooring, and when we had to get up the subflooring due to water damage, underneath it there was a black garbage bag. When I opened said bag, it had a bunch of women's clothes in it. Didn't think anything about it until we dumped it out and found bloody ripped underwear and torn dresses. Told the owner we had forgot some stuff at work and wouldn't be back until tomorrow. Called the police and never went back. The house was soon up for sale a month or so later. Fire alarm inspector, working in a cheap long-term hotel, and knocked on a door where a larger man dressed in essentially a purple bikini opens the door half asleep. Entered to test the smoke detector and tried to keep my eyes off the bed, but I knew I had seen something. Tried not to look, but I did, and there's a big old purple dildo next to the TV remote. The detector then decides to not alarm in a timely fashion, so I'm just staring at the wall hoping it will alarm, so I get out of the room. I delivered pizza for about 2 years. I had to deliver to a local motel pretty frequently. One day I go to deliver, and a large lady, I'm talking 6 feet 0 inches 220, was decked out in dominatrix attire. She answered the door ready to get down to business, then immediately closed the door and threw a robe on. She apologized profusely and then tipped me $10 for the situation. I'm a property assessor. We occasionally need to do walkthroughs of new homes when they are non-traditional builds and or unique. I had made an appointment to review a new house that was infill in an older neighborhood. Beautiful house, was modern but managed to not look out of place amongst the rest of the houses that it abutted. I was met at the door by Mrs. and 2 preschoolers. Very nice people. So I'm doing a room to room, making notes asking about finishes etc. And I get to the spare bedroom, boom, floor to ceiling Nazi shrine. It was very artistically done and was full of artifacts. One of the kids says this is dad's office. I didn't even bat an eyelash, just kept moving, noted floor/wall finish, and moved to the next room. Thanked Mrs. for her time and hit the road. Pretty tame by this post's standards, but I'll always remember it. I have a bunch of Star Wars Lego in our spare bedroom lol. Not my story, but a journeyman I worked with told me a good one. We are commercial sparkies, but being a smaller company we occasionally take residential jobs when there's not a lot of other work. So they were doing some work at an apartment complex, and they were inside one unit that this weird lady lived in. Apparently she was really friendly and talkative, but just kind of gave off a vibe like she wasn't all there. My journeyman asked to use her bathroom at one point and apparently it was covered wall to wall, ceiling to floor with magazine cutouts, nothing graphic or sexual, just random pictures from random magazines cut and pasted everywhere. Even in the shower, which was fucking filthy. Like the tub had a layer of grime and obviously hadn't been used or cleaned in ages. He said he just waited for lunch, or until he got home, to piss for the rest of his time there. A few years back I worked as an electrician. I found a guy with a rifle laying next to him where he had tried to blow his head off through his mouth, but he had missed the vital parts. Brain and blood was all over the bed, but he was still breathing. He was in coma state of mind. Heard later that he died that day.